All right. There is one change to the agenda. So we have Perkins has who is it that's coming? I'm sorry. CES coming to talk about the photovoltaics. They won't be here till 8 p.m. So I'd like to move the section 8 to the end after Arcadis, so that we give them time to arrive to do their presentation. There may be a little bit of pause if we finish early, but anyone else have any other changes they want to make? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda with that one change to move section 8 past section 10.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Minutes, October 2nd. Everyone should have received a copy in your email. Anyone have any changes? Yeah, go ahead.
No. Was it worth just specifying the two votes for the approval that the building? I know you differentiated the two votes, building committee and the Board of Ed.
Oh, but
I just
between the
wasn't
two
sure if you
projects?
identify it. No, no,
mean-
I don't know. That's
Oh, you mean
fine.
between the two? The two. Oh, so just saying, clarifying that one vote is from the building committee and one vote's from the Board of
I
Education.
mean, you have the names there, like who motioned, who second, all in favor, pass. I don't know if you want to say the first vote was taken by the building committee, second vote. That's all. I didn't know for documentation. I
Just
need to.
yeah, in 20 years, if we ever go back and figure like who the heck were these people, we won't know who's or who.
That's a good note.
That's a good note. Matt always finds the good notes. That's why.
Lisa does an awesome job.
She does an awesome job. Absolutely.
That's
All right. Any other edits? Okay. Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve with that one change.
So moved.
Second.
second.
Matt, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Claudio abstains. Motion carries. All right. Public comments?
We had no submissions to the inbox.
Okay. No one's here. As far as my updates, so a couple of things. So there was a change order meeting last Thursday. I'm going to let Chris talk about that stuff and Arcadis talk about that stuff. But the one thing that did come out of it was the discussion on the scoreboard in the gymnasium. I just want to put on record that I did recommend to Dr. Macri. So the scoreboard comes in various options, and the school, Mr. Penny, the gym teacher, had requested white numbering on the scoreboard as opposed to the yellow, which I think is for accessibility, I think that's a much better option. It's easier for people to see white on black as opposed to that yellow color. And he had also requested being able to say Cromwell versus guest as options, but in order to fit Cromwell, because it's 8 letters, it would have escalated the cost of that board to I think it was $8,000 or something like that for a digitalized version. But a much cheaper version, which was around, I think, $1,200 extra for the white, was to use just home versus guest. So I proposed the idea to Dr. Macri. She was in agreement. So that is the option that we went forward with. Any comments? Oh, okay, that's someone said something. The other thing that has surfaced again is the turf field at the middle school. So the reason why it's surfacing again is because there's a whole project on the side the town is investigating about field studies and trying to improve the high school. And long story short, there is no immediate plan to do anything with the soccer field at the high school. And on top of that, we have a huge drainage problem in Cromwell. So many of our soccer fields, if not all of our soccer fields, are rendered unusable after a typical rainstorm, which is often in the fall. So as an example, so I was the chill assigner last year, so I assigned referees last year. Why? Because I was bored. And I was actually keeping track of the number of games that were canceled last year, and it was like over 50% of the games were canceled last year. So all those students, or all those athletes, I should say, were unable to use our field, so all those games were canceled. They were forced to go to their away game, and it just was a huge disadvantage to them. On top of that, there's also a lot of discussion going on that with turf fields actually allowing our athletes to practice more regularly on a turf field makes them more competitive with all of the neighboring towns. Because if you go to any neighboring town now, almost every town has a turf field. And so they also have like a competitive advantage. Anyways, lots of different discussion going on. There's probably going to be a town meeting, public hearing to talk about the pros and cons, because there's lots of cons to a turf field as well. That is not promoted by this building committee. We're not promoting one way or the other. We're like kind of, you tell us what you want us to do position. And then whatever comes out of that, the town council will decide whether or not they want to move forward with changing our field from a regular grass to a turf. So that's happening. No direction yet. Hopefully direction soon so that we can get that ball rolling if we have to.
Rosanna?
Yeah.
Will they provide direction if for some reason it went over our budget?
It would only be considered if it's within our budget.
Okay, got it.
Which brings us to our photovoltaic discussion later. I think that's all I had to talk about. Yes. Okay. Communications.
No report.
Okay. Design subcommittee.
So design subcommittee actually met at 6 o'clock this evening to go over the wall graphics that the next set of renderings that Perkins gave to us at the end of last week. We had a very productive meeting, and I'm going to type out our thoughts and send it back to Perkins so they can do maybe another final round.
Yeah, I would say they're like minor tweaks,
Yeah.
right? Nothing
Yeah.
major. Joe's like, thank God. Nothing,
Yes.
nothing major.
Small changes.
Small changes, the colors and things like that.
Move a couple of walls.
So Dr. Macri did provide some thoughts on some of the things, and I think the subcommittee did take some really good thought and took those comments into consideration. So I think everyone will be happy with what they came up with. That's good. Typing her notes up. Anything else, Heather?
No, that's it.
Okay, well, moving right along. I should have brought coffee for like if we have to wait. Coffee break. You can wing it. We'll see. Okay, so we're moving on to Newfield.
We have so far, so what else is new?
Aw.
Wow, tough
Sure
crowd.
your mic is on.
Good evening. Another note on the signage. Joe did send me the narrative for the Cromwell Middle School on Monday. I've gotten that out to our general trades contractor and our electrician to price the three options that Joe outlined. As soon as I get that, I'll bring it to the change order committee, and we'll see where we're going with that. All right. So I'm going to go through the project update. As part of the update, I'll go through the 2-week as well, and then we'll get into the photos. So couple things to note here are that the steel erection is, the structural steel erection is about 99% complete right now. They're going through the last of the punch list from Swezak and the special inspector. That should be done in fairly short order. Roofing here, it says B building install is nearing completion. It's actually It's actually all complete. All portions of B. They've completed C, BOE, and the gym and the area between the gym and the auditorium. And the next area that they're going to do is over the band wing and then follow into the auditorium. They're coming along very well. They're about 65% complete right now. Above slab MEP coordination and sign off is complete. We received the final section, area A, approved today, so that process is complete. The only thing that we're working through right now is anything pertaining to Bulletin 3, which had to do with sound attenuators for the duct system.
What's MEP?
Mechanical, electrical, plumbing.
Plumbing, thank you.
Masonry wise, critical walls are complete. That would be the firewall between the B building, 2-story and single-story, as well as the school and the BOE. Those critical walls are done now. A majority of the exterior CMU walls are done. They're working on the interior, the gym proper, CMU walls and everything should be done by the end of the week is what we're looking at. So masonry is coming along very well. Some of you know we started the masonry veneer at the corner of the B building and the media center. Joe's been out on site. We looked at the in situ mock-up of the flashing detail. It came out really well. No comments came back on it. So we're going full bore with brick on that south elevation of the B building right now. And we're going to come right around to the west and then head to the north. Exterior carpentry. They just finished up B building today. They're going to be putting the last of the sheathing on within the next couple of days here at B building. C building is pretty much complete as well. That's upper and lower portions along Main Street, over in the BOE, all that area around the gym. All that framing is in, and I'd say probably a good 75-80% of it already has the sheathing on it. And once again, we're running towards that November 1st date to start the temporary heat within the building and have all of the openings closed up and be ready to do winter conditions. As far as interior carpentry is concerned, in the B building, we're working through the interior partitions for cold form metal framing and metal studs. It's coming along very well up there. We actually have a great amount of the electrical rough-in done within the metal studs on both the first and second floor. I was noting earlier to some of the members that refrigeration systems are brazed in sweat waiting for inspections and insulation. We're insulating rainwater leaders, all that kind of stuff. Those are all good signs. We've passed inspections. We're moving forward through the process. Same thing with ductwork. Main corridors have all, we're working through putting in the main branch lines down the main corridors, and now we're starting to stab into the rooms with all the runouts for ductwork, fire protection, you name it, it's all going right now. That gets us pretty much through everything. Right now, electrically, plumbing, and all the MEP trades right now are starting to move into the kitchen area where we have our CMU walls, and they're starting to do the in-wall rough for all of the kitchen area. That's our next area that we're going to be working in with the mason. Let's see. You want to hit anything on inspections, site work activities, Ron?
Yes, the commissioning agent's been out. doing his weeklies or his bi-weeklies and what have you. The reports have been coming back positive. If there was something that was noted, it's been taken care of right away, and and the items are closed. And like Chris was saying, the special inspectors have been out. They've been happy with their reports. And was it 2 weeks ago? We had Richter and Segan out, did their punch list on the acceptance of some of the landscaping and what have you. So that there were a couple of some minor items just to keep an eye on. There was a couple of shrubs and trees. So they'll be watching that. So that's all been documented, which is good. Friedman Company's been out doing the stormwater monitoring, and everything that's needed is really well. And when Mathers left the site, seeing it out there full time, they left the site in a real good shape for them with the silt bags, etc. And as needed, they will get them back out to do any cleaning of the aprons and making sure that the Watchers Park is clean. But other than that, everything has been really good. The site has been, really clean. The building's clean. Like Chris was saying, the ductwork is going in. The ductwork's being protected. Shipping, it's been well protected, and as they're working, all of that ductwork is staying really, really good. So, but that's all I have.
All right. So you hit on most of that design process there. We're working closely with Joe and the design team on RFIs. We've actually instituted a Monday afternoon huddle to prioritize things for the week so that we can get the answers a little bit faster and a little more expeditiously through the design team. That's been working really well. I'm happy with that progress. I'm happy with Joe's team right now. So I will say that. The critical items that we're working on right now are obviously getting weather tight for the winter. That's our number one priority right now. And then I'm working with Joe here to get Bulletin 4 and 5 issued so that I can get those in the pricing pipeline prior to us getting too involved in any of these areas with the rough-in associated with number 5 being your AV system in the media center, and number 4 being what's turning out to be another catch-all, correct? So I just want to make sure that as we're working through these areas, we're not having that naughty word of rework or anything along those lines. So we're trying to just stay ahead of the wave here. I pretty much went through the 2-week. If you guys have any questions when I'm done, you can ask me if you have anything pointed. But this was in your report as well, so feel free to ask any questions when I'm done. As far as photos are concerned, as I was telling you, from this point, now the gym is done, and the area between these two areas are all done for the roof. That means that we can get going on all of our MEPs within those areas. That's a huge milestone for us. You can see that we're at a fever pace getting all of this framing, sheathing done. As I was saying before, if you go out to the site right here on this elevation right here is where we're doing the brick right now, and under this canopy over here. As of today, we're all the way up to the corner here with our AVB, and they're going to keep proceeding as fast as possible. Actually, today as well, we've come along. We're somewhere around in here. We started over here on A, coming around with the framing. We're somewhere right around here with the framing now on A. So we're making good progress on closing in. Here's just a couple of shots of the roof. This picture is the insulation and cover board going down over the cafeteria, the kitchen, and the mechanical spaces here. This is looking back to the east from the north side of Main Street. That's that same area. There's your calf. There's your mechanical space, and at the far end is the BOE. You can see that it's all done, all temped in. And then this is the high B roof right here, taking a shot of over the rest of the lower B. So this would be your media center, just showing all of that complete. Once again, this all came together within about a week. It was just about a week, right, Joe? So we went from detailing of the AVB to actually laying the first courses of brick down here within a week. That's just showing the progress of how we're going. There's your gym. They finished up this section the other day. That's the west wall, southwest corner. This would be the northeast corner. We were just starting this east wall when I took this picture the other day. This whole section is done now. So they're making good time in the gym right now. This is what we were talking about with main runs of ductwork. This black line right here is your fire protection main. These are refrigeration lines. As I was saying before, refrigeration lines are being brazed and sweat. This is actually all complete now. When I took that picture, they were just about ready to do that work. It's all done now. This is just photos of everything getting insulated now that the roof is on. Your permanent stairs for both A and B in the B wing are complete and poured. We're using them for our purposes now, which is a good thing. We can get rid of that staging tower that's out on the north side and finish up that elevation now.
So they pour the concrete on those stairs already?
Yes, concrete's poured in the pans. You can see it right here.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at. Any questions? Yes, I was actually just following up on that today. Everything that we need for in the building, except for the main switch panel there, that will sit on the pad where all the feeders come in to distribute it within the building, has been received. That last piece of equipment, I have a ship date of 1/10. I don't have a good feeling of confidence on that 1/10 yet, but we're starting to look at trying to pull some of the dates in on our installs so that we can get that stuff going sooner for you. As far as the gen set's concerned, the automatic transfer switches have been received, and I believe the gen set is actually shipping somewhere around end of January, 1st of February. So that's what I have right now. Once again, I don't know that I have confidence in those dates yet, but as soon as I feel a little more comfortable, I'll let you know exactly when it's coming. Yep. Any other questions?
No questions, but I just wanted to commend your ability to stick to these schedules. There's so much going on here that I'm impressed that you're able to stick to everything. This is a lot going on at once.
It's good that, in the sense that we're actually pulling the demolition contractor in. We've had some conversations with Joe about FF&E deliveries and whatnot, and what that whole cutover is going to look like when school gets out versus when we start the demo. So I'm actually pulling in the demo contractor this coming Tuesday. We're going to have a little small focus meeting with him, talk schedule, so that I can give Joe a little bit better indication of when I really believe we can be ready for whether it be the technology coming in so that we can start livening up services so that Steve can do what he needs to do, whether it be your admin and your BOE getting over sooner. We're going to investigate all those items so that we can start getting that honed in for you guys.
Excellent.
And that's kind of where we're at right now. This whole idea of getting the building weather tight, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
And then when we get into the finishes, we really need to start looking into getting you guys into the building. That's how the progression's going to be.
Once you are weather tight, are there is it right to assume that weather should not impact what goes on in the building?
That's the idea. Yeah, we
Okay.
bought winter general conditions for temporary heat, all
Okay.
that kind of stuff.
So you
that
have
we
heat
could-
and stuff in there.
Yes, so
Okay.
that that's all included in the mechanical contractor's contract price is the temporary conditioning of the space.
Okay. And have there any new risks pop up that we should know about? Like anything that you're like, this might be a problem?
The only one that I can think of, and we keep batting it around between the design team, Arcadis, and the rest of the team, is this whole easement issue with EverSource. If we can't bring that to a head, we may run into issues with getting the transformer. So
So this is that new requirement that they came up with? Is
it
that-
wasn't necessarily a new requirement. It was one that we weren't informed of if we needed to or do it or not. And then our representative, and Ron can speak to this too, waffled on it if we needed it or not. And it ultimately came down that we did need an easement for EverSource for the electrical lines, not for the gas.
Yeah.
And that's when you processed the change order for Joe to do the survey, and that's where we stand right now is we're still trying to get that easement through the town, and we got to put this on a red hot item because I'm starting to get a little nervous about this transformer that we need.
So what is it that help me understand what you need from the town?
Well, we've gone back and forth, and I think we're down to trying to figure out, it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? They want an A2T2 survey, which is an as-built survey of the project,
Who's they? EverSource?
EverSource, and we can't provide an A2T2 survey until we're 100% complete. So I don't understand how we're supposed to be able to provide something that we can't do until the end of the project. And that's what we're trying to figure out right now.
Who at EverSource have you been speaking to?
Our contact is John Wisner.
And he can't give you any.
Once again, he's waffled, so we can't really get an answer out of him.
When you try calling them or emailing them, it's falling on dead ears at this point. I know Dan's had some good, some communications, but it's been rough trying to get communications with this guy. So I think next week we're gonna have to find out who we have to go above if we need to.
So this survey, what's involved with that? Is that like,
So originally what we had done is given the as-built, which would be the in-place condition of the conduit runs
yeah,
that we placed early on in the project prior to taking all that topsoil and putting it on the east side of the school. We surveyed all those points, gave them everything that they needed, and we thought that would suffice because that's their run, that's where their easement would be, and now they're asking for additional information. So
additional information that so I'm trying to understand, like, what additional information could you provide once the school's built? What's that additional information they're looking for?
it's exact placement of all utilities, not just theirs.
Beyond the electrical stuff? Like gas and everything?
Everything. Where curbs are, everything.
Oh, so if they ever need to do work in the future, they know what
One would assume that that's the reason why.
But wouldn't
they
we
want-
have that already figured out in the designs?
No, because they want the actual built condition, not what was shown on the construction documents.
What am I not
Correct.
getting? So your construction documents say put this here, right?
It-
It should, but you're saying after it may move to the left by 3 feet or move to the right 3 feet?
That's what this whole RFI
Gotcha.
process is all about in the design submittal process. If there's deviations that occur within those two processes, whether it be something that had to do with phasing or something to do with an existing condition, that could change the location of a catch basin, a pipe, an invert, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's all the stuff that's captured on the A2T2 survey.
So could you give them what you know today and then tell them if it moves, we update the survey to reflect the actuals later on?
We already have tried.
And they said no?
Then That's correct. They came back and said that they need the A2T2 survey.
And what risk does this pose on the project if they don't get this survey?
If we can't get this easement addressed
Yeah.
in a timely manner, it could throw off when we get our transformer from them, when they pull their lines, and when we actually liven the electrical on this project.
So is this because is the transformer out near the street?
Negative, it's right.
And is
it's-
that what's causing this?
I don't know what's.
Because usually they want to have the transformer out by the street so that they don't have to walk on somebody's property.
No, the TX is right on the north side over near the receiving area. I can show you on the drawing. TX is right behind this area right here on the north side. And that's where your shipping and receiving door is. That's where your gas service comes in, water service, and electrical service.
So what's the timing of when, so you're saying at the very end of the project this stuff would be laid down? I think it'd be before that, right? Like when do you expect to have, when would you expect to have the information they're actually looking for? And when do you need the transformer?
I won't have the full A2T2 until sometime in 26.
Oh, why?
Because at that point in time, then I'll be able to plot the entire project.
When do we need the transformer back?
Way before that.
The transformer you need like way sooner, right? Because it's gonna power things, I'm guessing.
I'd like to have the transformer by April. Yes.
I guess the question I would ask them, like, what would they do with the survey if it's for future effort? Why would they hold up the transformer? Yeah, how would they normally do it? Because every project follows the same like timeline for the most part, right? You build stuff first, and then you give them what they need.
That's what I'm trying to understand through John Wisner, what the problem is.
It could mean that he's maybe relatively new to the process himself and doesn't understand the timeline of things.
That could be the case.
So how would a normal project not normal, but how would that work in a project that didn't have this issue?
In a normal project, they tell you where it's supposed to be and then they move it later. That's what happens on every project. It's a nightmare.
They move the transformer? What do
Yeah,
they
they'll
move?
tell you where to put it, and then they're not happy with it when it's ready to get installed. Because they want to be able to just pull up to it in their truck, and not have to and maintain it from the street curb.
Yeah.
You used to be able to put them anywhere you wanted. Now you got to have them like 3 feet off the street.
So you don't need anything from our town then, right? What do you need from the town?
Eventually, the town attorney is going to need to be involved in that easement process,
If this doesn't get resolved?
regardless.
What do you need from the attorney exactly?
Yeah, so what they're gonna end up having to do is with the easement that they're getting, it will be that survey that will actually be put on the land records. So part of writing the easement, the town's attorney would be working with their real estate and their legal team.
Right, that's what SLR will be doing, is providing the easement map.
Got it.
But they need a request to do the easement map from Eversource, which is the holdup point, because they want the A2 survey before they issue the request. So it's the chicken before the horse.
So best case scenario is that this transformer is not held up by the A2T2. You do the A2T2, then you go to the attorney and they update all the documentation for the easement and everything in the land documents. Is that right?
Well, the A2, like I said before, the A2T2 is, in my opinion, off the table until the end of the project.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
best case scenario, we get what we need from Eversource, and then we give them what we can give them when we're able to give it to them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, gotcha.
Which is what we've given SLR to do the easement map already. We've given them the as-built of that run, because that's what we thought we needed to have, and this is where we ended up.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can.
Yeah,
Do
we
to
can
help.
try to reach out to somebody else at Eversource.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have connections. Okay. Anything else, Chris? Oh, all right. Arcadis. Oh, do you have a microphone right there?
Oh, yeah. Continuing on, we're going to do the financials through September. As you can see, we have paid to date for the middle school through September 30th, 14.7, and for central admin, 946. The amount reimbursed to date by the state, I actually logged in today to core, and it is up to 4.7 million. I will be submitting another progress payment request at the end of November through expenses incurred as of 9/30. Then next we have our summaries. The architect expended to date has gone up, as well as their current budget, which takes us through increases number 18. Our owner's rep number is up in pay to date, commissioning, testing, which is something that I would like to talk about after as we review invoices. The construction manager line, the current budget is up to change order number 7 as approved in September. Your current owner contingency through change order 7 is $2,571,094 with the bid savings of 3.1. So Rosanna just takes us right about $100,000 less than the number I texted you, because that was through August 31st. Central admin, it's the same expenses. We do not have a change in the owner contingency yet. This is the detail you see for CMS. This is what has been spent to date for owner contingency. This is CAO. Right now, for record, we have the following 2 change orders. Change order number 8 for CMS to Newfield, as reviewed and approved by the change order committee for $111,256.19. Do you have any questions that you would like Newfield to touch upon? These have all been vetted by Ken and Claudio before he went on vacation.
So the first 2 are due to all the changes that we made, right?
That's correct. Bulletin 1 came in, if you remember, I had originally presented Bulletin 1 as $131,000. We pulled out any reference to the site sign and everything. We had already run the conduit as part of a T&M process. The T&M process came out to $16,445.
That was just for the conduit for the sign?
That's for the 2 runs of 1 inch, both inside and outside the building, as well as all the trenching.
Trenching and the conduit. No wires.
No wires.
Wow.
And then the Bulletin 1, I was able to negotiate some values, and we got you in at $62,665.
And is this all the changes to the rooms that we made?
That's everything that was in Bulletin 1 less the site sign.
Yeah. Yeah, Bulletin 2 we talked about. So Bulletin 2 for everyone, there was a safety concern with getting on the roof, so they had to put rails and stuff up there. Simplified explanation. So I'm okay with it. Safety first. How much of that, because these are 2 very different things. So the music staff lines on the whiteboards, how much was that portion of it?
It was $413, if
Yeah,
my
that
memory
was
serves
really
me
low. So
correct.
that's just like a tiny part of the 20. So most of that 20,000 is the gates and the rails on the roof, right?
For the gate and rail, it was approximately $11,000. Then the wireless access points were the remainder of that price.
Yeah, wireless access point. Yeah. Okay. I'll take a motion to approve the change order total of $111,256.19.
So moved.
Is there a second? If there's no discussion, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries.
Next for record is change order number 1 to Newfield Construction for CAO in the amount of $2,874.37, made up of Bulletin 1 and Bulletin number 2.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just the central office portion of it. If there's no discussion, I'll take a motion to approve. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Motion carries.
Next is the invoices for review and approval. In this list and in your package, you will see a total of 8 invoices to Tri-State Materials Testing. In reviewing the invoices, Jack and I discussed that we are short on the purchase order funds.
Wasn't it a do not exceed?
It was a do not exceed.
So don't they have to suck it up and do what they bid out for?
Well, from what Jack explained to me before we came to the meeting, there was a trial quantities for comparison that he did back in November of 2023. The amount that came in from IMTL was 109,762, and Tri-State came in at 108,615. However, it was discussed and decided that only a PO would be issued in the budget amounts of $3,750 for central admin and $71,250 for the middle school. And we were reviewing those invoices, which is what Ron has been doing, going thoroughly through them, making sure that they are for the project. If it's a back charge to the contractor or to Newfield, we have taken them out and given them for them to process. These invoices that you see before you go through August of 2024. And Jack's recommendation is that we increase the purchase order combined to 120. So 70, I think it was like 75,000 to the 120.
Double? 75 to 120?
Yeah.
So I'm confused. Did Tri-State not bid on the project?
They did, but since it's assumed quantities, we couldn't actually tell them this is what you're gonna do. So we sat down with Newfield and we got estimated quantities and said apples to apples. Here's the quantities for both companies, and we plugged in their unit pricing. And we did not want to go ahead and issue or request a purchase order in the full amount of 108,615. So we took a step back, and it was our recommendation to the committee to issue a purchase order based on the budget amounts that we currently had at that time.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, and then we were going to come back if we needed more and let you know these are the quantities, this is what we've seen to date, and here we are, this is where we find ourselves.
How do we know that we won't exceed the 120?
Well, that's the other part that I was just discussing with Ron before the meeting started. As mentioned earlier, I took a look at the invoices and they run through August, which means that we are still going to owe them for September services. Ron has advised that they will continue to be on site, right?
Right.
They'll continue to be on site. Jack has advised that there will be on site next year too to do some more testing.
Yeah, they'll be doing the rest of the asphalt, some concrete work and what have you.
Ron's recommendation to me right now was that we increase the PO to 120, but then that he, Chris, and Jack sit down and have a meeting to see where they see themselves and come back with a more prediction of quantities between now and next year. Because right now we didn't have time to sit down as a group and come back.
So why don't we approve the delta for September now, and then take the time to figure out what exactly we need, and come back next meeting and approve the actual?
We can do that, yeah.
Because I don't want to just keep increasing
right,
blindly,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to just give them 120 if they don't need it.
Right now, we need actually. Right now, we need about 17,000 for the middle school and about 3,000 for CAO.
So all these September invoices you're saying are above and beyond what we already paid them?
Yes.
So we maxed out in August.
Maxwell through through August. Yeah. I looked at the purchase order right now where we hold. We have, with everything paid to date, without the exception of these invoices, everything paid to date, we're about $17,000 short that we need.
So I would think that we're not done, but the majority of their inspection work is probably complete.
I would agree on that, but where we spent a lot of time was with the unsuitables or the conditions with the foundation, where they were doing a lot of work in there, doing the compaction and the over excavations for the geotech and what have you.
Yep. So I most of their testing would have been in soils, structural steel, concrete. They'll still have, we must have a little bit of fireproofing somewhere
Right.
that they'll have to test, fire protection joints and things. So are they hired to do roofing and like curtain wall, that type of
The
stuff?
curtain wall, right now, we have a proposal that we're working with SES right now on doing
Okay.
the AVB and the window testing.
I mean, I recall having this conversation back then, that it was just a budget number, that we weren't sure if the testing was going to be, if this was going to be like a heavy testing job or if it was going to be light. And we did agree back then that we may have to look at it again. Here we are.
And there was a lot of rebar inspections, what have you, in the foundations and, with the water and what have you.
But I think it's good to know that we're probably, the majority of their testing is done. So it's not going to be double, or shouldn't be double, unless we come up with something that's totally unforeseen. But
So
at this point, we shouldn't.
So this September, if I added up all these invoices for September, for the middle school, we're at almost $35,000.
Right, and I just did the math right now on what I have left on the PO. If I take the budget number and I take what we've expended to date, and I get a balance, and if I have 35K in invoices, I would need about $21,000 to cover it.
Both.
No, for CAO, I actually need about $100. So we can do the delta as recommended and then come back to you next month after the guys have had a chance to meet and, as Ken just mentioned, reconcile what's needed and give a target so that we
Yeah.
don't have to keep on coming back.
That's a significant increase compared to what we had originally, and I get the whole soils thing, but I mean, we're already 21,000 over. You're looking at an additional, 50 something on top of that. That's literally double what we had originally gone into it. So I can't imagine that we had double the work than what we had originally thought we would have on this project. Because that's what, in essence, you're saying. Not you, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying, in essence, is that that's double the work. than what
And
they
Ron,
did.
like I said, has verified all of the invoices, compared it to the original, what was put out there, what we thought we were gonna have, and he's reviewed it. He's kicked back a couple of invoices that are not for us to pay, have gone back, and Newfield has sent that out to Mather.
But we're looking at like the number of hours they spent and what our assumptions were and all that too. Not just what they worked on, but the hours that they intended to use.
Well, they're either they're full day or half day. So if they come out for 2 hours, you're paying a half day rate. And with me being on site limited, I'm working with the Newfield and what have you with their reports. But their reports and their test reports are all still coming back.
But
yeah.
does it make sense? Like if they said, "Oh, we spent like 2 whole days inspecting something," like did it make sense that they would spend 2 whole days inspecting something, or it's like, why would you spend 2 whole days inspecting?
Well, it's just a lot of the work that they were out there. They were doing the excavation. They were forming. They were doing rebar. They were doing concrete pours. They were doing compaction tests, throughout the site while they were doing the structural fills and what have you. So there was there was a lot of work going on, with all the site work that was being involved with all the structural fill being brought in on the site, on the lifts and what have you, because every lift they were checking.
Yeah, and we did our due diligence and made sure that if we had them out for a half day, we made sure that we got as many tests in as we could in that half day. If they were out for a whole day, we made sure that we got as many tests in for the whole day.
Okay.
We were doing everything that we could to minimize that time for you.
All
One of the problems that I see with TSMT is that the soils guy is one person, the masonry cube guy is another person, the asphalt guy is another person. So they have different people who do different things on the job. So we maybe saw one or two guys a day in some
We're
sense.
getting paid double. We're paying double, like two half days as opposed to one half day type of thing.
Yes.
But did we fill that one guy's or gal's day worth of stuff when they were on site
If it was a half day, yes. If it was a whole day, yes.
per person?
Yes.
All right, so let's we have to approve the 21K because we spent it. So let's approve that and then come back at the next meeting with a more solid estimate as to what we need them to start inspecting.
So I would say that the motion would be an additional 21,000 to the middle school and $100 to central admin. So a total 21,100.
Okay.
And we'll come back again next month with more concise figures.
Thanks. All right, I'll take a motion to approve.
That motion is to
Increase the PO.
that motion is to increase the PO, right?
Yes.
Okay.
For Tri-State.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Motion carries.
With that said, now I request that a motion to approve the invoices listed in the screen, in addition to the two new field construction invoices, one for central admin in the amount of $148,956.89, and the middle school for $3,318,466.64. Both invoices have been reviewed by Arcadis, and we endorse your approval.
Okay, so we're approving the total amount though, right? For the
Yep,
invoices?
total amount of
$3 million.
$3,503,798.05.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Motion carries.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it.
And look, it's just about 8 o'clock.
Remember last time Jack talked about move management? Are we talking about that? Like potentially procuring move management?
Oh, Emily, last meeting, Jack had talked about procuring move management and having possibly Arcadis manage that. And I think we're supposed to get like a quote or something. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, I believe he's still working with our team leader on getting that number.
Okay. Next week, or next meeting. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
That was all my notes.
Yes. All right, so we'll have a quick architect's field report, FF&E update, and then we'll get into the photovoltaic system. So our last PE site visit was on Friday. We reviewed the in-situ mock-up, and as Chris indicated, we've been moving through submittals and RFIs in priority order. So these are some of the pictures that Alex took when he was out on the site. I think we've been all through this, but I think the important one's a close-up of the in-situ masonry mock-up, and you could see the flashing detail that Alex reviewed while he was out in the site. And then some shots of the interior. See, I told Chris I had that same shot. So it looks like things are moving steadily forward.
Nice.
FF&E update. Oh, I don't know if you have any questions on the construction. So we've gone through 3 PCR meetings, 2 for furniture and 1 for technology. We have our next meeting will be on the 23rd. We got a ruling as part of our process with the state on, we were intending to use cooperative contracts, which we thought were similar to state contracts as the state was seeing it. But DAS legal ruled that we cannot use those contracts as state contracts. So those cooperative contracts, and Emily, if you want to chime in here, allow people to bid with those contracts, but we can't use it as a direct purchase
Yeah.
like you would with the state contract.
Does that mean everything just got more expensive for us?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, so to give you a little more background, as we were putting our PCR items together, and we've been working closely with Joe and his team, there is no section in the PCR checklist for cooperative contracts, which brought on to the question as to if it has been approved by legislation as of July 1st, how come the form hasn't been updated? During our first PCR review, during our first or second PCR review, grueling hours of PCR reviews, we brought up the question to the reviewer, and her recommendation was to ask Nicholas Ross, the leader of that area. I sent out an email to Nick and sort of with a snip of where it talks about cooperative contracts and now being able to be used. And he came and let him know that we were on a current PCR with Cromwell, and we wanted to know this, because prior to the letter being issued, had the letter been issued, we would be facing a ineligibility issue. However, with the letter not being issued, we were discussions with our reviewer, Andrea, and it became we'll just shift to whatever it would be depending on the ruling from DAS legal. They interpret that they can use the co-op contracts, but there's a threshold as listed and cited in the section, which the threshold, as we know, it's about 10K. So as I've been mentioning to Joe, it's just becomes a null point. I don't understand why they had to go in and list it. The DAS legal, who from what I've been advised was not spoken to or even brought into the conversation about this legislation. So they had no idea of what they actually meant. So their ruling is it's a state funded project. You need to follow the procurement rules as established. We have not advised any cooperative contracts. We have not linked a cooperative contract to a state contract, which would be different. And it's something they're looking to do in the future, but not now. So after discussing with Jack what Mr. Ross's ruling has been, we spoke with Joe, and it became let's move it over to public bid. There are some items that could be state contract, but that would impact the budget. So we've rather just move everything to public bid. We're very optimistic to have a November 1st of letter, at least I am, to maintain schedule, which would leave us a month of bidding, receiving some prices in December for PO issuance before the first of the year. And I did ask Andrea about getting a partial approval letter. She had said the way that we had parsed out FF&E first and then technology, she would be able to issue at least the letter just for FF&E if that's what's ready to be out to bid.
And then what would we do with technology?
Technology, we're still waiting to hear back from Kermit Thompson. He's reviewing and making sure that he agrees with sole source product and integrator. If Kermit comes back and says, no, this is not enough supporting information for sole source, then again, we'll go back to Perkins and say it needs to go out to public bid.
Okay, so one of the other things that came up in the PCR was the review of the accessible cafeteria table. The way that the table is constructed, by the vendor that we're looking at was just to remove one of the benches to create the wheelchair space. This is not the exact table. I don't have a good picture of the exact table. What that caused was you could see this little leg here and wheel, which would have stuck out past the table, and we were concerned that that would be a trip hazard. As we looked at other manufacturers and other table types, we found that we could just install a stool on top of that leg, which would eliminate the trip hazard and also would serve as a permanent companion seat to the wheelchair space. So we reviewed that with Dr. Macri and with Rosanna, and it was deemed acceptable to go in that direction. So we're just making that small adjustment to the accessible cafeteria table. There should be no cost increase for that, but that's one of the items that will go out to public bid now. So we'll see what we get when we get the bid on that. We also received, I think it was just yesterday, an updated science equipment list. Some of the items that were indicated to us are not currently needed. They did a full inventory of the middle school and found that they had some of the items that they asked for, and found a couple other items that that they'll need in addition. So we're working through that to adjust that list. It looks like there'll be some savings there, but we just need a couple days to parse that out. And then, as I said, we were going to have the next PCR meeting supposed to be tomorrow morning, and we pushed that back a week to make some of these adjustments to the bid documents. So this has adjusted the schedule a little bit. We're still on track to get to the December 31st issue of POs. We've tightened up the review period and award period, and then that would be the procurement, the bid period here. So that we kept at 4 weeks. So if we hit the, I was a little bit more conservative than November 1st on the award letter. So we're looking at mid-November to get the approval from the state.
Is that like assuming very minimal RFIs?
So for the bid period, I would assume not too many RFIs on the furniture. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And then do we have enough meetings scheduled for any of reviews or approvals that we need to keep that on track? Because I think our last meeting in December is fairly early.
Yes, so depending on when we get the approval letter, and we might need to request a special meeting on the 18th, if that's possible, because I think the last meeting is the 11th.
It's the 18th, Joe.
The 18th is the last meeting?
Okay. I just looked at the calendar.
Okay, I gotta check my calendar then.
Joe was going to be here on the 11th.
That's that won't happen.
We would be working with Sharon to make sure that those POs. She has been advised. She did review the bid form. So I will let her know that we're going to be updating to put in more items than what she had seen originally. But she has reviewed the bid forms, and Arcadis will be receiving the FF&E bids on behalf of the town per her recommendation.
So what's our kind of critical path lead time on some of these items? If this slips into January, does that start putting us at risk, or is everything pretty much well within the first 5 months of the year
It's a cost
to receive?
cost impact, right?
It would potentially be a cost impact because we're looking to get
Okay.
2024 pricing for the furniture. Usually the vendors on January 1st adjust their pricing. So there could be a cost increase.
Okay.
There's also a
But they pretty
potential
much keep this
schedule.
all in stock, so it's not really a manufacturing lead time issue.
I would have to check on that. It depends on the vendors.
Okay.
I don't have an answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah, and usually we like to say that you would want to have 12 to 16 weeks lead time from getting their PO. So if, let's say that they get January 1st, then you have January, February, March, April, May. So about a good 5 months.
Yeah, we're looking to receive furniture in July,
Yeah.
starting in July. So
Yeah.
we have maybe a month's buffer in there
Yeah.
too, depending on.
But we're telling the state there's no buffer. We need a letter by the 1st. That's what our story is. Yeah, and we're sticking to it, although Joe's not as optimistic as I am.
Well, I mean, we've seen supply chain disruptions throughout this project, so
Yeah.
yeah. It would make sense to hold to that.
So I've also done some quick adjustments to the estimate. It hasn't changed much. I did want to point out that there was a calculation difference in the technology estimate. So it's actually, we're currently under budget by about $30,000. I think it was previously reported that we were under budget by $52,000. And then we've also adjusted based on the PCR meetings, the ineligible amounts. The state has deemed certain items to be ineligible that we had considered eligible. So that went up a little bit, and the technology one actually went down slightly.
Were there any big ticket things that they deemed ineligible that we assumed would be eligible, or is it a lot of little things?
It was
What are
little
some
things.
examples of stuff that, like,
Do
you know, off the top of
remember,
your head?
Emily, what we, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, the OTPT items,
yes.
those were all deemed ineligible because they were like carry-ons. So
Oh,
the
they
state,
can move.
yeah,
Yes.
Anything that
You
can
could
move.
pack them up.
yeah, you
and
can pack them up and take them into another place. So they said
and
that.
they questioned the durability of
That's
them
true.
as well.
The bean bags,
so,
yep.
Gotcha.
The 5 flags were deemed ineligible. So
Right.
1 flag per classroom, but I guess the additional 3 flags. So we had 4 flags, and they said 3 is ineligible, 1 is eligible.
Right. So one for the
it's-
stage is eligible.
Yeah.
Any other additional ones would not be.
So it was minor things. We had in our discussions, Perkins had really included mostly what was ineligible. We were just on the fence about the OTPT items. We thought they were part of the program, but all the fitness equipment, we tried to ask for eligibility because it's part of the school program and education, but no, they didn't take it either. So that's what
Really hard to move a treadmill.
So I think that one is deemed ineligible because there's potential public use for that as well.
Yes, yep.
So there's very different rules for every piece
Yeah.
of furniture that why it could be eligible or ineligible. We almost had to consider the bins in the art carts to be
Yeah.
ineligible because they could walk.
Oh, the cup holder in the thing,
Yes.
in the music.
That comes as part of the
Yeah,
kit.
yeah.
But we almost had to break that out as
Yeah.
ineligible. But okay, photovoltaic system. So we have Vani here from CES. I'm gonna. I guess. Do you want to describe the system?
Sure.
Or?
Why
All
not?
right.
So good evening. Good evening, everybody. I'm here to talk about the solar PV system designed to this point. I don't know if Joe has shared some of this information before. Okay, so this is all new to everybody. So what we're proposing to this point is the maximum system size of 399 kW. And essentially, to this point, the solar design consists of 877 450 watt solar modules. The solar modules essentially consist of 72 cells installed at a 10-degree tilt angle. The solar system will have no roof penetrations. It's just entirely ballasted onto the roof, just essentially restrained using concrete blocks. Some of the data that we use to analyze the solar system characteristics for the complete layout is essentially using some historical site data and 130 mile per hour wind speeds and roof elevations, and also some setback of 10 feet from roof ledges, which is essentially required by OSHA for safety of anybody that could be walking on the roof or doing some maintenance related or non-related to solar. And the system is string inverter based. Essentially what that means is that you will expect some equipment on the roof that essentially collects all of the solar stringing to a central point, and that essentially does the conversion of DC to AC, and just that's how it essentially gets backfed into the grid. And essentially the system is planned to connect to a 600 amp circuit breaker and also to the gear that is already part of the project as part of the school. So we're really not procuring any additional switchgear piece of equipment. We are just connecting essentially back to what has already been provided as part of the project. The only thing that's being anticipated to be procured as part of the solar system is a circuit breaker. Now that we know the maximum service size that we're planning on putting on the roof, which is 399 kW to this point. We also included at the bottom an opinion on cost based on numbers that we have seen recently for solar systems of similar size and characteristics. So an estimate of $4 a watt is what we have seen in average for a system similar to the one that we're proposing, which comes out to about almost $1.6 million.
And once we get more into the detail, we have PAXs that did the estimates for the other part of the buildings. We'll confirm that number once they have the full system, and we'll give them documents. I also want to point out that this system, the way it's sized and laid out at the 399 kW, we'll also be working with DeSimone to confirm the weight of the system to make sure it's compatible with the structural system. So we're working through that as well.
Anybody run any numbers on payback period?
Not yet. We have focused to this point on just the system size to try to maximize the roof area based on all the known in-plan designed mechanical equipment that's on the roof and all of the other conditions architectural wise and whatnot. So right now all we have to this point is just the maximum size for it.
I got some questions. What is the current estimate of how much the building will use annually compared to the 399 kilowatts?
I don't believe we have a number for that yet. I can't recall whether or not we ran an energy model, Joe. So that would be data that we still need to analyze. So we will essentially use the energy model just to see that generally gives us an estimate of the anticipated kWh per year. And then we will compare it with the anticipated production per year, which as of now, it came out to about 485 kWh per year. So we can certainly, once we have an idea of how we want to proceed with the size overall, we can look into that and circle back with that.
So how is it sized now? Is this like the maximum you could put out there? Is that how it's sized by?
Right now, it's the maximum based on the roof area. As you can
Okay.
tell, for this floor plan of the roof, it's essentially taking advantage of almost every single area.
Okay.
The areas that you see no coverage, it's because of mechanical equipment that overall, because of the height, we
Yep.
need to stay away from. And also, there's a couple of roof areas, kind of like the one centered over in the north area right there. It's because of the shading of either the adjacent roof area that's overcasting into the general roof space that simply doesn't make it feasible or worth
Yeah.
us putting anything.
So if we overproduce, is there any power storage? Or does it just go back into the grid?
It is just entirely going back into the grid.
And there'll be some kind of Eversource credit?
That can be figured out once we get to that point of looking at what kind of incentives or any certificates or anything that Eversource is offering at the time. That's unfortunately changing as we move with all the energy incentives and whatnot. And we will certainly look into that to see what we can qualify for. Also, in this view, for what's worth, we have a couple of sample of graphics of what the solar module is going to look like. Essentially, it's like most solar modules that you have seen probably somewhere else. What's shown right below the solar module is the an inverter, and then right below is the racking system, which essentially is it's mounting the panels at a 10-degree tilt, which essentially from grade it becomes virtually invisible. You cannot really see. It's so flat that you will not be able to see it.
And what's the degradation rate of these panels?
They have a warranty of 20 years, and depends by manufacturer. But the manufacturer that we use has a very, I want to say, industry standard degradation. You generally see a percentage of, I don't have the data with me, but I think it's possibly anywhere in between 7 to 10% over the life of the panel.
Over the life, not per year.
Correct.
Okay.
You said 20 years or 30 years?
20.
20.
20 is what you see mostly. 20, 25.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that you hit the 20 years and the system just goes offline. But
And then the cost, that $4 per watt, doesn't include like maintenance plans or insurance or anything like that, right?
No, that is
That's
the
just installation of
that's
the
the
panels.
installation, fully installed turnkey system cost, with everything. So essentially, fully installed.
Okay. So what do you need from the building committee today, Joe? Are you still figuring stuff out?
We just wanted to give an update where we were. We'll work with Arcadis to give them this information. I think they still need that to get it approved through the state as a state phase 4 of 4. So
And then you're still have to figure out if the structure can support the weight of all these panels, right?
correct. So we're still working on that as we design the system.
Is it, I mean, the panels, or is it the cement blocks that are gonna hold the ballast in place?
Right. It's all of it.
Right,
So
Yeah.
when the building was designed, though, we anticipated having,
Yes, we anticipated 8 pounds per square foot, which is the typical size
and is
weight
this
of
more
a
than
system.
that?
It depends on the area. Some areas, depending on exposure, may require 3. Sometimes it may go up to 8.
But
so
still
that's-
under 8?
It could potentially be a little bit over 8. It's part of the analysis that we need to conduct. Once we get the analysis done, we'll be able to pinpoint which areas either reach 8, exceed 8, or under 8.
Is this also something that is following the same timeline as FF&E? Like, we want to get pricing for 2024 pricing, or?
No, we're not following that timeline for this
Okay.
design.
Are there any available grants or incentives from Eversource?
To my knowledge, there may be some Green Bank or Connecticut, Energize Connecticut items that we may be available. We will need to confirm and see what's to this date available for us to take advantage of for a commercial building. We'll look into that, correct.
Is the federal energy credit tax not available because it's commercial?
Again, it's one of those items that we generally don't like to look at that data and use that not until later into design, because now we know for sure nothing will change. We have all that readily available to share it. But there's some incentives that we have seen that is still available. Unfortunately, once those incentives run out of money, because they just have a bucket of money that people start taking advantage of. Some of
Yeah.
those ran out of money and they're simply gone. But something else generally comes up and it becomes available.
Yeah, okay. 'Cause no, I just got solar on my house, and again, I thought the federal legislation was approved through like 2029. I just wasn't sure if it's applicable to non-residential.
Right, there is a couple of, for what I have seen for Eversource, there is a couple of them, residential and commercial. We'll just have to confirm what the latest is for commercial.
What's the? What is my mic?
Oh, yeah, talk closer.
Oh. What's the? What would a similar school building project? I mean, maybe I haven't seen them. This looks like a lot of panels. I mean, it's great, but I just I can't think of anything comparable in terms of a school building that has this many. Maybe because the profile's so low
Yeah.
and you just don't see
Well,
it.
I think this is just showing the maximum. they
Yeah,
could
it's
put-
just showing the
That's why we
maximum.
need to figure out, like,
Yeah.
what do we expect the school to actually use? Because if the school needs it all, then, okay. But if the school's like, well, we don't need all that power. And I
Right.
think there already is a power profile. I remember we talked about the power profile when we had to put the original Eversource things together. So curious, I don't remember what those numbers were, but be curious to compare what this will generate versus what we actually anticipate needing with some margin, right? We don't want to. If it degrades, you kind of want to overshoot a little bit to make sure we have enough power.
Yeah, I mean, just for reference, like what are the schools that have solar on it right now? Like WIS has it.
CMS has it.
Okay, so both those have it. Yeah, I mean, do you roughly know how many panels are up there? Okay.
Right, but keep in mind that probably those panels are from
Like
previous
10 years old, I
generations, so
think.
they're probably producing a lot less.
Right. So you
So
think they haven't even needed
correct.
more?
Right, but you
Yeah.
can get a general idea because the best way to estimate that is to have some data to measure against, right? So this is a new construction, so we have to go back and take a look at some of our energy modeling just to see what could potentially be the production gain here.
Cool. Thanks.
I would recommend putting as many on as you can.
Yeah. It's always better to have too much, not enough.
Yeah, I'd rather have some of it go back to the grid if that's possible.
You'd get credit. You get energy credits. You wouldn't get money back from the Eversource, though, right?
Right. There's a way of doing that, setting that up with EverSource, but it all comes down to the size of the system versus what the potential is of overproducing, and then at that point, essentially what happens is that you go into a negotiation, process with them just to see how much they're willing to pay and whatnot. So. Depending on how we estimate the size of the system and the production, we can certainly
Yeah.
look into that as a next step.
If you can offset the cost for the other schools, that'd be great. They won't let you, but it'll be great. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Do we have to break that out?
Yeah, we will. Yes, Joe, everything has to be broken out. We do have bid savings or contingencies that we have for both projects. So once the data is analyzed and we have that 1 point number does not include, it's not broken out for the central admin, right? It's just the
No,
entire
total
thing.
It's the entire thing. Yeah.
So if we do that number based on what we've been using, which is 4.7% to be allocated to central admin, I think we will be within our budget's amount. But,
Yeah, it was like 1.6 million for all of it.
Mm-hmm.
right, it's at 1.6 million.
It's
So
approximately
4%
yes.
of that.
So
Yeah,
would it be the
so-
would it be the percentage calculation, or would it be the actual number of panels that are on the Board of Ed?
Oh. Well, I was gonna do it based on the total cost. So if we take the total cost and we say 95.3% of that is gonna go to the middle school, then you do just 4.7% for central admin. You're looking at about 75,000 for central admin. And just looking at what we had, what we're carrying below our owner contingency line, you can do for each project, you're in good position to do both projects, yeah.
I think we would. I think we'd be using up all of our bid savings at that point.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
all of it.
Yeah.
To the penny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
But-
looking at,
But we wouldn't hit our contingency.
no, we would
Sarah.
not touch the owner contingency. I believe what the committee has decided was to use the bid savings lines. So you have Cromwell Middle School at 3.1, 3,138,000, and let's say that we just say, for number's sake, 100,000 of that. It's 1.6, so if we say 1.5 out of the 3.1, it's going to be. But if you want to build some contingency or a cushion, and you say, well, I'm just going to take 2 million just for PV for the middle school, you're still leaves you with 1.1 for that bid savings. So if that field comes in at $1 million, you're good. Yeah. Yes.
Claudia, do we own the current? On both of them?
Yeah, we don't want to do pay.
No. I just wasn't sure if this was the first one we were going to do buy, whereas the other ones were agreements. Yeah, for sure. Okay. And we're going to put this out to bid, and I know you said maybe there was a manufacturer you had in mind, but we'll still get quotes for it.
Right. Yes. So there is multiple manufacturers. I mean, we're definitely going to have something that's, a good product as basis of design. But yes, so we'll go out to bid for open. Right.
Okay, any other questions for Perkins or CS? Okay, thank you. A lot of good information. So before we leave, I had one question that I thought of. Where are we with the time lapse stuff? Do you know?
I can write to them and ask for another one.
Yeah, it's been we only gotten one right from them. time lapse? Oh. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anyone have anything else they want to bring up? Once, twice?